What's up, guys? Today we're working on a very dirty 2009 335i. Just been a lot of highway and pollen. There is pollen everywhere. I need, after we do this valve cover gasket, I'm gonna clean this engine bay a bit. But you may be asking yourselves, how do you know that it's a valve cover gasket? Well, if you guys didn't see the previous video, there is oil down in there on top of the cylinder head. That is not where oil should be. Also down on top of the spark plugs. But before we get started on that, you will want to disconnect the battery. If you don't know where the battery is, it is back here. I already went ahead and disconnected it. It's over here in the corner. Just pop this cover off. It's a 13mm socket. I just disconnected the main power cable that goes to the junction box. You just do not want to have the power on while dealing with fuel, because you will need to remove the fuel lines. So before we start tearing into the top of the engine, I am going to remove the cabin filter covers and this whole back piece here. Okay, I got the screws removed. There's 6 in total. So there's one there, and then on the other side the same. Those are all 8mm, and then these two in the middle are going to be 7mm. Then this just pops up off. There we go. Set that in a safe spot. These you just grab from the back side, pop up. There is a little tab right here. Plug in. There we go. Got that removed. And same thing. Tab right there. Lift up. And there's your brake booster. Next, I'm going to remove this whole back piece right here. So I've already removed them, but there's going to be an 8mm there and an 8mm in the same spot on the other side. Also, what you're going to want to do is pull these little rubber tabs off. It just makes it a little easier. There's another one over here. Pull that off to the side. Disconnect that. Let's see here. If you don't know how to remove this, it literally, you just tug on it and it goes. Sometimes you might have to get a flat head in there. Also, I got these 2 tabs already removed, but to remove this lower harness, you literally just take a flathead, pop it in, and it just drops down. Gonna remove this sensor right here. And this one right here. Move those off to the side. You should be able to, let's see here, drop that down. And there we go, it's out. Set that down there. Now I know I'm kind of just jumping around, but I want to get this. I don't want to make this video too long, because I'm sure you guys just kind of want to know what to do and get it done if you're in the middle of trying to get this done. If that makes any sense at all. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, we can go ahead and remove this plug right here. Just go ahead and take a flat head. That pops out. And what you're going to want is a Torx 18 back here. Now you're just going to want to loosen that up. This one down here you're going to want to completely remove so we can pull the brace out. And this one is a Torx 14. And that just slides out. Now that the brace is out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect this cable right here. Just pop that cover off. What you're gonna wanna do is grab yourself a 13mm. Get that removed. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get all this put up on the cowl and up out of the way. I'm gonna find a way to, well, there you guys can see, I'm gonna find a way to keep it held up here. Okay, got this all moved up out of the way. I ended up, I'm not sure how much of this you guys can see. It's kind of a pain for me trying to hold the camera and do this at the same time. So bear with me a little bit, but I took 2 little zip ties and just kind of have it holding up here on the windshield wiper. Next, we're gonna go ahead and remove the coil packs here, which you just flip that up. It pops that connection out. I don't know if you guys can see that. Just pull up, pull the connection out. Now they can be kind of a pain, but just give it a good tug and you should be good. Oh, that one's covered in oil as well. That last one though. So 3 out of the 6 are covered in oil. But luckily I ordered 6 more coil packs and all new spark plugs. Now that the coil packs are out of the way, we'll go ahead and get these this harness off. I'm sure this is the ground right here. That is an 8mm. I got those removed. They just pop off. And now for the injector plug. Just gonna take oh, there we go, now you can see. Just take a small flathead. Get right in here on the connection, lift up a little bit and it pops right out. Now don't put a lot of force on there, especially if the engine's hot, that will break. I got all these removed. Nothing broke, so that's good. And let's see if I can get... Next you're gonna have these 2 little connections down here. Just push in on the tab and pull up, they come free. There's one more back here. Alright, so after I remove those connections, I was gonna remove the connection off the fuel rail, but I noticed that this vacuum line is in the way. Now there may be a better way of doing this, but this is the best way that I've been able to find because I've just been kind of looking at it for a little bit. I've got a flathead underneath, a flathead on the side, and a flathead on the other side. Make sure you have 4 flatheads if you're gonna try this way. Now I'm gonna try this flathead up onto the top. It looks like there's 4 tabs. I tried squeezing it and that's apparently not what you do because it's not working and I really don't wanna break this. And it worked. All right, just make sure you have 4 flatheads available, preferably small ones. Now I'm just gonna jump to the other side and do the same thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it off camera because I just kind of want to make this video as short as possible. So I'm gonna get that taken off and then we can get to removing the rest of these connections and then move on to the fuel rail. All Now that we've got the vacuum hose removed, I can kind of show you guys what I was talking about. Sorry, this thing won't focus. But anyway, you just kind of put them down right in here. One there, one there, one there, and one there. I did these three first, and then the top one, just lifted up on it and pulled free. And it actually worked out great. If any of you guys have a better way of doing it, just go ahead and comment below. I'm sure someone else will benefit from it, and it'd be nice to know. But next, we're gonna remove the connection on the fuel rail line. Get that plug undone. Pop. You should pop these out. Free up some of this. Next, I'm going to disconnect these connections up here. Those just pop out. Remove all of this cable, or remove all the wires out of the little holders back here. Then I'm going to grab a 10mm socket. Now that this harness is kind of out of the way, I'm going to take a 14mm and start removing these fuel lines right here. Alright, now that all the fuel lines are removed, I did notice that there are some vacuum lines right here that go to these little canisters. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to remove the vacuum lines from these canisters right here. Alright, now that we got the vacuum lines removed, they are kind of a pain in the ass, and it is a little harder if you have larger hands to get down in there, so just be careful with them. Now, I think I'm going to start, we're going to remove the main fuel rail right here, this connection. I don't know how much fuel is going to come out, but just in case, I'm going to put a rag down in there. You're going to want a 17mm. Not much has come out yet. Then there are 4 bolts, 4 11mm bolts that you're going to want to remove. Alright, now that all 4 bolts have been removed, the fuel rail should just come right out. There we go. Now that I got the fuel rail out of the way, I moved the vacuum lines over to the side. Now we can get going on the valve cover bolts themselves. Now there should be a few studs. 1, 2, 3. I believe there's 3 studs that your harness was grounded to. That's going to need a deep socket. Before we get to those, we're going to start removing these. I don't know what in metric this is, but it's a 5/16 standard. That's what I've got. You will notice though, once you put the deep socket 10mm on the head stud, or on the stud, you're not going to be able to get the drive all the way, or the extension all the way in, so that's normal. So you got all the screws removed, or loosened at least. You've got your harness out of the way. I've got it pulled off to the side. What you're going to do is get like a gasket scraper or some kind of pry tool you can get up underneath the valve cover, because it will crack if you just pry on it. I've got one of the interior ones, so I hope this will work. Just be very gentle. And it's off. Now if this was the Silverado, I would have this off, I would have the valve cover off and done probably within 20 minutes. This is one of the most extensive valve cover removals I've ever done. It's not that bad, it just takes some time. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the old gasket out and get the new one in. Alright, got the old gasket off, cleaned up around the edges here, dried everything off. Oddly enough, the old gasket actually isn't brittle like I thought it was gonna be. I think it may have already been changed recently. The car has 97,000 miles on it, so I don't know, either they didn't check their torque specs or something, but it was definitely getting by. But we got the new gasket here. New gasket's on, ready to go. I already cleaned the top of the head, made sure I got all the excess oil and grime out of the way, made sure none of it went into the top of the engine. Now that I've kind of been thinking about it a little bit, I am a bit concerned that the PCV valve may be bad and that's what's causing it to blow out the gasket. So I may look into that. Either that or it just wasn't torqued properly. Some of them were, I did notice that some were just like you barely even turned and they came out. So that's probably it. I still might look into the PCV valve. But next we're gonna go ahead and get it back on. Okay, got the valve cover back on. I just dropped in the spark plug guides right here, or sleeves. I'm not really sure what they're called. But I noticed that they just kind of drop in and pull out, so I'm gonna make sure that's seated. I'm gonna make sure these pop. Now I just took a flathead, a skinny little flathead, and pressed them in till you heard them pop and lock in. I don't want to just drop them in there and then have them rattling around or not have a seal on them. So those are ready to go. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go around and hand tighten all these screws. Just going to get them hand tight, go all the way around. Got the valve cover on, hand tight. I'm going to go through and I've got my torque wrench set to 7.5 foot-pounds. And I'm going to start out with, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from the inside out, I'm going to do like a star pattern. Alright, that only took forever. I got all of them torqued. I went back through and checked all of them to make sure I don't want to do this again. I'm starting to get the fuel rail on. I'm going to run the lines and then just repeat everything in reverse order. Got most of it put back together. I just need to get the back piece on, then put the cabin filter all back together. But other than that, she's ready to go. Now I already jumped ahead, unfortunately, and ran the car. I totally spaced it. But, well, make sure you guys plug in the battery also. But what I like to do is, I don't know if you have to do this, but it's a good idea. Don't start the car, but put it into the run position. I like to do it at least 2 or 3 times. You can't hear it right now because I already did it, but it primes the fuel into the fuel rail. That way it keeps from like a dry start. Well, let's see what she sounds like. Running a lot better. Now I did swap out the plugs and the coil packs. Got the old plugs here, you can see they're covered in oil. I got something on the lens, so it's having some trouble focusing right now, but you guys can see there that there should not be that amount of oil or any oil at all on your plugs. And please, when you change your plugs, please use anti-seize with the aluminum heads. Then I've got 3 spare coil packs for just in case. I use Bosch everything. Use the Bosch spark plugs, the BMW specific ones. We'll go back here. No more miss. Running nice and smooth. Except for that valve chatter right there. That seems to be fairly standard. Got the car shut up so you guys could hear me a bit better. Yeah, project's done. It went pretty well. I mean, it did kind of start out as just, I thought it was a coil pack or a spark plug that went bad, but as you guys know, car stuff happens. We prevailed though, we got it done. I just need to button up a few things and she'll be good to go. I let her run for a little bit. Everything's running great, smooth, no miss, no leaks. Everything's awesome. Now you guys will need some time to set aside. That's the hard, like, I'm not the most patient person in the world, so that's, I guess, I don't know if it's downfall or not, but you just need patience. I guess that's where I'm going with that, and some time. Other than that, it's not too bad. Oh, over here, squirrel! We have the next mod for the BMW. It's a body mod. Go ahead and guess what that is. Other than that, I hope this video helped at least a few of you guys out. As I said earlier, I do apologize if it's jumpy. I'm gonna try and make it go as smooth as possible. Because I know when you're in it, you just want to get it done. So I was trying to get as much information as I could in the shortest amount of time. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great night.